to our channel for week 11 of the Sideline Spice Power Rankings winners and losers, brought to you courtesy of the boys of the Vault Studio. I'm Ryan, and with me is Luca. What's going on, man?
How you doing, Matt? Just overheating. Summer's coming, and with that, football's heating up as well.
Yeah, man, it's great. As every week, we've watched the games, we've ranked the teams, and as is custom, we've got a few standouts, a couple of winners, and a couple of losers from our consensus rankings that we feel are worthy of specific discussion as a result of another incredible week of NFL action. As always, at the end of our video, check out the link in the description below to find our complete rankings, and please have your say. But for now, on to our biggest winner.
Yeah, our biggest winner actually happens to be, I think it's the biggest jump we've had in quite some time as well. And as homage to this team, Ryan's rocking the neckbeard, Andrew Luck style. Indianapolis Colts are our biggest winner for the week.
Yeah, he doesn't have his anymore though. Anyway, but yeah, Indianapolis Colts. Yeah, as you mentioned, not only our biggest riser this week, but one of the biggest we've had in a long time, jumping 7 places from number 19 to number 12 after their 38-10 drubbing of the Titans. Given the Colts their 4th straight win, whilst continuing Luck's perfect record over his division rival, 10-0. The key factor for this game was once again the Colts offensive line, who continued their excellence in protecting Luck against a sack yet again, which simply allowed their QB to go to work, and that he did. By the end of it, the once bearded wonder was 23 of 29 for 297 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and a 143.8 passer rating. He consequently tied Dan Marino's record for the 3rd longest streak in consecutive games with 3 or more touchdown passes at 7. As long as this line keeps dominating and giving Luck all of the time in the world to go to work, they're a shot to beat anyone in the league on any given Sunday. And after a slow start, they're well on their way back to the playoff conversation. They face another 5-5 team in the form of the Miami Dolphins in Indy on Monday.
Yeah, I think the number is 274 consecutive dropbacks Andrew Luck hasn't been sacked on. It's something like that. And yeah, the Colts are actually paying 37-1 as Super Bowl now. It's actually really good value. I might have a punt on that later. Our second winner is another 5-5 team. There's a lot of them. We noticed that in our rankings. This one here is the Dallas Cowboys, rising from 23 to 19 in our rankings. So they overcame the Atlanta Falcons. They were on the road as well. That's 2 straight road wins. Brett Maher, after missing an extra point earlier in the game, he got his chance at redemption, nailed I think it was a 40-something yard field goal. And now they're actually going to be playing the Skins. Forget this. First place in the NFC East on the line, which is words I didn't think I'd be saying a few weeks ago. And it's actually looking more and more likely to be in the Cowboys' favour after Alex Smith unfortunately suffered that gruesome injury in the week gone by. Now, we all know that the Cowboys go as Ezekiel Elliott goes, and Elliott was going on the weekend. He got 122 yards, actually led the Cowboys in receiving with 79 on 7 catches. And look, as far as I'm concerned, Zeke is the offense. And the Cowboys would be in their best interest to take the ball out of Dak's hands and put it in Zeke's as much as possible if they want to be a playoff team. They've got a sneaky good defense as well. That's the one thing that a lot of media outlets aren't reporting on. It's led by Jalen Smith, DeMarcus Lawrence, and the tackling Dutchman, Leighton Van Der Esch. They're 8th in yards allowed and actually 3rd in points per game allowed. So some very impressive numbers there.
Yeah, as long as they can keep moving on offense, they've got the defense to back it up.
Yeah, agreed. Speaking of defense, there was none of that in our honourable mention.
Monday Night Football. What more can be said about the extravaganza presented to us by the LA Rams and the Kansas City Chiefs that already hasn't been said? I honestly don't know. Was it one of the greatest games I've ever witnessed? Definitely. Does it have me more excited than ever for the rest of the season? Also, definitely. The NFL obviously knew what it was doing when it made the changes it did to create a more consumable product for the public, and some of them have rightly been criticized at points this season. But if it means we're going to get more games like this, how can you not be all for it? The Rams and Chiefs still find themselves at number 2 and 3 respectively, and both have a bye this week. The league obviously anticipated some needed rest after this one.
Yeah, I think it's the first time that 2 teams had scored more than 50 points in a game in NFL history, which is absolutely insane. It's beautiful to watch. Now, we go from one of the most beautiful games to watch to something that wasn't so pretty. Our first loser, the Atlanta Falcons, dropping from 18 to 22 after losing to the aforementioned Cowboys this week. Now, they're basically out of playoff contention because they're 4-6 in a division that has two NFC powerhouses in the Saints and the Panthers. Neither team could really get to work offensively until the fourth quarter. I think the Falcons had 4 field goals before the Ryan to Jones connection happened in the fourth. Look, he still threw for almost 300 yards, but honestly, it was just such a boring game. I'd rather have ants in my eyes and be subject to the torture that was that game again. You know who I'm referring to. Now, of note is that superstar linebacker Deion Jones is aiming for a return this Thursday against the Saints. And look, it's going to take a miracle to make the playoffs at this stage, but they could use all the personnel they can get if the unlikely is to happen, and Jones is a good start.
At the end of the day, you just got to get the ball over the line. Like, they've got serious weapons. What are you doing kicking 4 field goals? Like, yes, Dallas is a good defense, but come on, you got to do better than that with what you've got.
Agreed. It's disappointing to see the lack of execution. Very, very good segue to another team that's been disappointing over the past few weeks.
Yeah, we're doing the segues nicely today. Anyway, after starting our preseason rankings at a rightful number 1 after winning the big dance last February, the Eagles find their slide continuing this week after enduring a Saints smackdown in New Orleans, losing 48-7 and sliding 3 places to an admittedly questionable number 17 in the rankings. This team is now 4-6 and firmly planted in 3rd in the NFC East. And it's not hard to see why, after suffering what is now the worst loss by a reigning Super Bowl champion in history. It's hard to talk about this game with the frame of the Eagles because the Saints were just so damn good, as they have been so frequently lately. But Wentz in particular did his team no favors, finishing with only 156 yards on 19 of 33 passing with 3 interceptions. The myth of the Super Bowl hangover seems real with this one, as the Eagles really look like shadows of their former selves at almost every level of the field. Yes, Wentz is still recovering from that injury that cut short what would have arguably been an MVP-winning season last year. But still, this team seems yet to get out of second gear, and they're quickly finding themselves on the outside, looking in at any chance of a title defense. Luckily for them, the NFC East is such a mess at the moment. Up next, they host the Giants in Philly.
Look, I would not put my money on that game if I was a betting man. Also, just a shout out to our comrade Josh. He's been in a pretty dark place this week after they got destroyed by Derek Saints. He even gave us permission to roast the Eagles on air. So for him to say that, it must be tough.
They're roasting themselves on the field.
They don't need us to do any roasting. But I will do roasting anyway, because now it's time for Luca Loses It. Ryan, you're going to be so happy about who I'm about to lose it at. Can you guess who it is without even looking at the notes?
I don't want to.
All right. Well, who's the team that makes you angriest this year, without a doubt?
The Jaguars.
The Jaguars. So you got it in one. But this time I'm the one that's angry at the Jaguars. I'm on Team Ryan. I wasn't on Team Ryan at the start of the year. I actually thought that they could be an outside shot to win the AFC before the year. That defense gave Tom Brady fits, and it did it again earlier this year. You know, Bortles seemed to have done just enough, Fournette, all that kind of stuff. But it's fallen apart, as we know, and I've long given up on the Jags for this season. But I hadn't given up on them in the Steelers game. I thought in a game that they were dominating from the outset that, you know, maybe they could cause a boil-over against, you know, my least favourite team in professional sports. You know, Ben Roethlisberger threw for, I think, 174 yards in the first 3 quarters, threw 3 picks. You know, the Jaguars look like they're well on their way to a big statement game, you know, only being one game out of a wild card spot. But no, they let Roethlisberger throw for 170 yards in the fourth quarter. They let Big Ben plunder his way across a touchdown line for the game-winning score with seconds remaining. Jalen Ramsey, who actually, to his credit, played pretty well earlier in the game with the 2 picks, still talking after the game. Jalen and the rest of the Jaguars, you I hereby say you forfeited your NFL media rights until the end of the 2018 season and possibly for the start of the 2019 preseason. You called out Big Ben as an average quarterback before the season, saying that Antonio Brown's what made him, only to lose his hand in the final seconds and his legs as well. So I'm sorry, like you're not qualified to talk about football for the rest of the year if you're a Jacksonville Jaguar. Stick to golf commentary or something because no one wants to hear your trash talk. Ryan was against it before. I like the bravado and they could back it up. But now you can't back it up. No more trash talk. I've lost it at you.
And they've rightfully fallen to 24 in the rankings now. I didn't want to say much because I've been saying it all year and no one's listened, but finally it's starting to resonate.
Look,
sign us out.
I'm defeated and broken. I have to admit when I'm wrong. That is all we've got time for today. So if you liked what you heard or want to check out more of us, leave a like or subscribe. Every small token of your support makes a big difference. So smash that like button. Join the ever-growing Sideline Spice army. Now, if you're viewing this on the Vault's Facebook feed, our YouTube channel should be linked in the comments below. If you're viewing this on our YouTube, all our socials, as well as those of our friends at the Vault Studio, can be found in the description below. That's all from us tonight, guys. Until next time.
Cheers, guys.